Okay, I like this form better
Okay.
than any others because it's easier and because it is, this is a paycheck.
Right.
And I look at my listings as my salary and my buyers as my bonus. Or I should say, I look at my listings as my paycheck, and I look at my property management as my bonus. Because if I don't have time for buyers, I can't broker, list the property, do property management, and drive buyers around.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Spread myself too thin. Okay, so very top, listing agreement to sell. Listing agreement for residential property between. So let's say John Doe. What's the deal? John D. D-O-E. There we go. Okay, and then this is generally the part that nothing fits in totally. But you have to write it all out. Look at this. It's like there's a delay in it.
Yeah. Okay, so you're putting in the
Look at
owners.
that. Yep, John Doe is the owner.
Okay.
I'm going to try to type in Williams, but
I have bad eyes. I'm sorry.
that's okay. Do you want to move up here? It's just us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you must run.
And I'm afraid to.
The timer in the conference room was a little slow when Stacy was trying to
Was it?
type things in too. Yeah,
It could be. It could have something to do with the power outage we had yesterday, or last night. Everything getting set up back up. Oh, look at this. And I don't know why I'm getting extra letters in here and everything.
You're quicker than it is.
Right to anything else. Thank you. I usually write in Keller Williams Realty, Alabama Gulf Coast.
Okay.
But if you are typing this in and making it, and there's not room for it, you can put in Keller Williams, Alabama Gulf Coast. This is off of our intranet, our office intranet site. Like doing the DocuSign and stuff, you can set the size of your font.
Yeah.
So you can fit everything in, just so you know. Okay, so our subject address is going to be, we're going to use this address. And we're going to learn how to type. There's no damage to these, thank you. Okay, so if you're going to list your property, or somebody wants you to list their house for sale, y'all know how to pull it up in deeds and records and stuff, correct?
Yes.
So that's the first thing that I'm going to do. I have had an appointment that I've gone on to list a house that was on the bay. And I was very excited about it. She was very, very reasonable about her price, and I told her we were probably low. And went through the whole process with her. She was interviewing some other agents. She picked me to list the house. I went back the next day and talked to her. We were going to meet later that afternoon. So I went back to get everything together, and I pulled the deed, and I looked, and she wasn't on the deed. It was her parents were on the deed. So whenever I called her and said, look, the parents need to sign this as well, she said, okay, we'll just fill it out. I'll sign it for them at power of attorney. I said, okay, well, I'll need to see your power of attorney. And she couldn't show it to me. She couldn't produce it. Long story short, it turned out she thought she could sell this property under away from her mom and dad, who lived somewhere else, and she could actually get the money closing. So it was like a total waste of time. But you can see how many people are on the deed and all that other kind of stuff, and get your legal description.
I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
She is on the deed, but her mother is as well, and her mother died 3 years ago. Do we just need to present to the title company of their?
A copy of the death certificate, that's all. Yep. That's it. Legal description, lot 15, unit 60. That's just, I'm making it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then our PPIN number, you all know where to find those. Okay. Okay, so I got our PPIN. The next one's agency. Seller acknowledges that broker has provided seller with the written disclosure form entitled the Alabama Real Estate Agency Consumer, or RECAD, and has been formed to the specific types of brokerage services that are provided by the broker. In accordance with this agreement, seller agrees and appoints broker, and broker hereby accepts such appointment as the sole and exclusive agent of seller to list, market, show, and otherwise offer for sale or trade the subject property to credential buyers. Seller does or does not authorize to act as limited consensual dual agency in the sale of this property. We always want them to, because that's part of my listing spiel. I don't have a real estate team, but I have a huge real estate family, and we all work together as a team. So the chances of one of the fabulous agents, which I always really selling and listing, are pretty strong. So in that case, we're going to be a limited consensual dual agent. Hey, I don't think we have anybody in Orange Beach,
Oh, man.
because they would join on here, right?
Yeah, you would
Okay.
see them.
Okay, that's fine, because I'm just going to go ahead with it then.
Okay.
Okay, as limited consensual dual agency on the property. It's good to get a limited consensual dual agent signed at that time. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you forget, there's so many papers. You just need to have it should the limited consensual dual agent happen. Okay, so like if you turned in a listing and this says seller does authorize broker to act as limited consensual dual agent, and it comes to me, because all of your paperwork in command, Holly January glances over it, but she doesn't approve it, and then it comes to me, and I'm sitting on my computer like I was last night when the power went off, and I'm going through and fine-tooth combing them. So if you send this to me and that's checked, but you don't have a limited consensual dual agent and you don't have an offer on it yet, I'm still going to approve the contract. We just need to have one in case it sells. Okay. Should seller and buyer each authorize broker to act as limited consensual dual agent, seller agrees that the limited consensual agent agreement shall be executed by the seller and such buyer at the time the buyer's offers to purchase and make an integral part of this purchase agreement. So that's our limited consensual dual agent form. Non-discrimination. Federal law prohibits discrimination in the sale, rental, lease, or negotiation of property to be used for housing based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familiar status, or national origin. Of course, we have to type that in there. The attached multiple listing or MLS seller form inputs are incorporated into and made part of this agreement. This agreement shall be effective for a period of time beginning on, I love our other one because it actually has a drop down date thing. You can put the date on it, which is so much better. Today we're 06, 26, 2020. And we're going to end on, how long do you want the lister agreement for? Or how long are you going to try to get that posting for?
How long do you recommend for residential?
Everybody does 6 months, so I do 7.
7 months.
I try to get 7 months. So we've got June, we've got July, August, September, October, November, December, January. So I'm going to try to get them to go. I'm going to try. They may be hesitant to do that, but I try to do that because everybody does 6 months. But I will tell you why. When I first got in real estate, I worked a lot of expired listings. When new listings came on the market and they were an area that I thought that that was going to be my area that I wanted to work, that I wanted to farm, that was going to be my niche of what I wanted to do, I would go 6 months from then to the end of that month we go to the date that it was listed, because some agents don't go to the end of the month. They go 6/26 to the 12/26. So I would go to that date, and then I go to the end of the month, and I would put the MLS number in, and put the address of the property. And then when that month came, I would look and check and go, yeah, that's right, I need to check and make sure, number one, it didn't sell.
Right.
Number two, it's gonna expire.
Right.
Because I'm gonna call them.
Mhm.
So if people are doing that to me, they're like, what happened? So I hope it's sold before then, but.
Right, usually the extra time is on.
And then we got our terms and conditions. This tells about the, unless the expiration date is extended in writing, signed by both seller and buyer, or by electronic means acceptable to buyer and seller, and we have an extension of listing form. We can extend the listing for a longer period of time. We don't want to, but we can do that. Okay, and then there's our listing price. Let's make this one. Or some bucks. So we're going to list it for 900,000. Because we can. So here we're going to do our financing terms. I'm going to say cash. Of course, we'll do a mortgage. We could do FHA. We could do VA, but we're not in a USDA area. Do you know how, you all know how to pull it if a house is in the USDA area? Boy, y'all are so smart. Okay, and then of course, vendor's lien, if they're going to do that, which whenever they do, you go, please no.
I'm in a USDA area because I'm in the country.
Yeah. Commission to broker. Association of Alabama Realtors does not fix, control, recommend, or suggest commission fees or rates for services by its members, or the percentage division of commission fees between cooperating members and or non-members. Any commission payable herein, in all cases, is negotiable between the seller and the broker. In this agreement, seller agrees to pay broker as agent of the seller a cash commission equal to % of the gross amount of the sale, agreement to sell, exchange, or trade, which may be negotiated during the existence of this agreement. The term sale shall be deemed to include any exchange or trade to which seller consents. In the event of an exchange or trade of this property, seller gives permission for broker to work with all parties and to receive compensation from each of them. So in this agreement, seller agrees to pay broker as agent of the seller a cash commission equal to, and this one we're going to do for 6%. Okay, our address goes here again. Again, in our other forms, it'll automatically populate in all of the address areas. Or extensions thereof, sale is made to any person who was shown the property or to whom it was presented for sale by anyone, including seller. Seller agrees to pay broker a commission as stipulated in paragraph 3 above, provided broker makes known to the seller in writing the names of anyone whom broker has shown or presented the property. However, no commission shall be due to broker if, after this listing expires, the property is listed with another licensed real estate broker of this state and sold through their exclusive right to sell. Okay, so if they said, I don't want my house on the market anymore, or you smell bad, so I don't want you to list my house anymore, or for any reason, you can give them a list. These are the people that I'm excluding. These are the people that I have shown the property. So if they come back and buy the property, you owe me a commission. If you've shown the property to somebody and they've gone back and visited the seller by themselves and said, why do we need to pay a commission? It's where it expires. Why do we need to pay a commission? Let's fire that realtor, whatever. You can exclude those people. So they still owe you a commission. There you go. Okay. Seller agrees that broker may compensate other brokers, selling agent, who produce a buyer who is ready, willing, and able to close the purchase of the subject property. Such selling agent's compensation shall be, I pay 50-50. I think the majority of us do pay 50-50. Come on.
Like almost a private tutorial.
Yeah, I got a huge, and this is Orange Beach. See, they're right here.
Oh, looks like you, man.
They're just below me. They're hiding. System is component. Seller shall warrant that the heating, cooling, air conditioning equipment, including window units, plumbing, electrical systems, and all included appliances shall be in proper working order at the time of closing. Exceptions would be if they know something is not working or the property is being sold as is. That would go in there. Warranty for improved property. Seller shall or shall not furnish buyer with a home warranty at closing, subject to limitations, exclusions, and deductions. I always click shall not, and seller can make the buyer ask for it. Unless the seller says, I think it's a huge selling point, or I have one already, and we're going to transfer it over. All improvements, fixtures, and appendages are included in the purchase price. Included if now in or attached to the property the following: lighting fixtures, shades, ceiling fans and their remote controls, drapery, curtain hardware, window shades or blinds, window and door screens, stationary laundry tubs, water heater. Some of these things I just think it makes perfect sense. Smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, built-in and mobile security systems, fixed and mobile thermostats, TV antenna, seller-owned satellite dish, the mailbox, remote control garage door openers, remote control gate keys for any doors, including storage and utility closets, buildings and mailbox, water pump and pressure tank, built-in kitchen appliances, garbage disposal, central vacuum and attachments, built-in gas grill, gas log remote, controlled for the gas starter key, awnings, heating and air conditioning equipment, including in the window units, storm protection shutters, panels, built-in generator, pool. I always found that interesting. Pool equipment or cover, wall-mounted speakers and mounts. That's the one that everybody misses because they take their speaker and they leave the mounts. And usually it goes without anybody noticing or saying anything. So I'm very specific when I counter to an offer and say surround sound speakers will not remain. However, the wires will be left in the wall. Shrubbery and all plantings. Purchase price does not include. This is where you would put where she would say drapes in the master bedroom don't convey. They match my counter or something along those lines. Or they have some kind of special hardware, or there's just something else you're going to take with them. And if they tell me I don't want that chandelier to go, I got it from my grandmother, or it was an anniversary present from my husband, whatever it is that makes it special to them, I try to tell them that we need to go ahead and replace that now.
Replace it.
Because I hate to say or put in dining room chandelier does not convey. The seller will replace it with another chandelier. And then they end up hating the chandelier and that becomes an issue. So I usually tell my sellers, anything that you're not going to leave with the house, it's not even part of the house, let's change it out now. Yeah. Let's put something different in there. So this is where you would put any of that stuff in. Furnishing, the property is sold furnished, partially furnished, attached, or not furnished. So we're going to sell this office not furnished. We can take all this with us. Termites and wood infesting in wood destroying insects and fungus. Seller understands a purchase agreement may require an Alabama wood infestation report by an issued and bonded and licensed pest control company disclosing the presence of any previous or acting infestation by Formosan and subterranean termites, platypus beetles, wood-borne beetles, dry wood termites, or wood-decaying fungi within visible and accessible areas of the dwelling, carport and garage, and any detached buildings given value by the appraisal. If active infestation or fungus is reported, treatment of the entire dwelling may be required. In such case, retreatment and or repair of the affected areas may be required by a buyer and or lender. Treatment may also require an affected outbuilding of the buyer or the lender. This is where seller is or is not aware of any previous infestation or damage by wood destroying organisms. We're going to say they are, but we had it fixed. Property is or is not currently covered by a repair retreatment. We are going to say we are, and it is a repair. I don't think we can check them both. So we can check them both. And we do have for motion writer, and we're with Joe Blow. Joe Blow Books. And our contract expires on, sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. Usually they don't, and that part is left blank. Survey elevation certificate, seller never has them, does not have a survey, seller does not have an elevation certificate. Not applicable to condominium properties. Lead-based paint, federal law just requires that for all residential dwellings constructed prior to 78, a buyer shall be put on notice for his or her rights to test for lead-based paint. Check here if the lead-based paint disclosure form. Say yes, please initial. And now we're filling in. And we changed the name to straight out of that. With the EPA, approved lead paint hazard information packet. Protect your family from lead paint in your home. Warnings may be provided to the buyer. Title insurance. Subject to the terms of the purchase agreement between seller and buyer, seller agrees to provide an owner policy of title insurance to convey merchantable title, to prorate taxes, leases, and or homeowner association fees through date of conveyance of title, to pay all of the mortgage, public improvements, and or homeowner association's assessments assessed against the property, and to disclose any potential pending or future assessments that may be levied against the property by which seller is aware, or any other encumbrances against the property unless otherwise agreed upon in writing. Seller is aware of the following encumbrance against the property. And this is where you would fill in their mortgage. I've been seeing them where they're just filled in with a dollar amount. And I've seen some that are very, very specific with them. They'll say this is the name of my mortgage company, this is how much I owe on the mortgage. And then I have some who don't fill them out at all. I have in time known, picked up on sellers that I have that this is information they're not going to want to sell. Because in their mind, how much they owe on the mortgage is going to make a difference on an offer that, like, if I owe nothing, then and people know about it, they're going to offer me less money. Or if people know I'm really tight on my numbers, whatever. So they refuse to fill it out, and I don't have a problem with that. Because I'm then going to make this one go to the title company as soon as it possibly can. The title company is going to contact them and get their mortgage company information. And whichever one call me and say, hey, you know they got to bring money to closing, if in fact it's a situation like that they owe more than the house is worth. So I'm letting that be a judgment call on your part. Marketing, this shows everything we're going to do to try to market the house. It talks about the coming soon status, which I absolutely detest. Coming soon. Lots of people use it. I don't. It's coming soon. And you'll know because I'll put it in the MLS when it does, and I'll fill out all the paperwork when it does. Because it's just so convoluted. And I don't know why. I don't know. I just don't understand why you would put it coming soon. I mean, if it's not on there. Yeah, it's not on there.
I had
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I had one of the agents that I helped do the open house. He put it on the MLS. They weren't finished moving out. He didn't do a coming soon. He put it on the MLS and offers already started. And they haven't even seen it. So why not?
Yeah.
Why not just go ahead and go active?
Yeah.
Just say showings can't be until such and such day.
Actually, coming soon, so people are gonna, and it doesn't like raise their interest. I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around that. It's coming soon. Are people seeing it and going, oh my God, I can't wait till it becomes active. And this is the house for me, and I'm just gonna wait and see. I don't know. I don't know. If I'm the buyer and I see it, it's coming soon, I'm passing it up. And I'm going on to something that I can look at today.
Because there's another part of you, me, because I have both. There's another part of you that goes, why is it coming soon? Are they working on something? Is there some damage somewhere?
Oh, I never thought of that.
I think of it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, do they
And
have
it's
a
usually what it
mess to
is.
clean or?
Absolutely, and that's usually what it is. They're getting the house ready to sell.
So go ahead and make it active, and then just say,
Yeah.
we're just doing, we're
That's right.
finishing moving out.
Yeah.
Just give them a minute, and we'll show you the house as soon as they get finished.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, lockbox.
Okay.
Seller does or does not authorize broker to place an electronic or a coded lockbox on the property. Lots of agents still use the coded lockbox.
Down at the beach,
Down at the beach, yeah, they don't pay the money to to get their century.
Well, I'll be honest with you, there's places in Fairhope too, down by Point Clear,
Yeah.
Scenic 98.
Yeah.
I had such a hard time showing last week because I had no service and I couldn't get it to open. I actually had to have
I
them
saw
open.
that.
Well, and you can do, get a one-time code.
Yeah, I had to call them to do that.
Because my thing will actually do where it's looking for it, and it does face recognition, and then it's looking for it, it's looking for it, it's looking for it.
Yeah,
Say it can't connect with you on the one-day code. Like you can't, yes, and it'll automatically give me one, so I don't have to call you agent. So it's like, this is a nice new feature.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's updated Century Box or not.
I have to remember when I do go in a house to go ahead and deactivate the agent safety.
Yeah, yeah.
Because my husband will text me and be like, "Are you okay? I just got a text." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm good.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Let's see. Acknowledges that a lockbox is intended only to aid in the marketing of the property and not intended to decide security device for security. The Baldwin County Association recommends electronic lockboxes. Seller acknowledges that not all showings agents use the Baldwin County approved lockbox system. Subject line. In the case, the showing agent may ask the listing agent for a one-time code to enter to the property. Use of the one-time code may be a security risk. Seller will or will not agree to the use of the one-time code. Rental information. So what I always have to check is my property manager house says I turn them into listings. This property is or is not part of a rental property. If in the rental property, seller authorizes broker to contact, and that would be whoever is managing the house. Or whatever property management company it would be. Yeah. Prospective buyers, what do we have here? Issue of reservation information may be used for marketing or to share with prospective buyers to make appointments for showing property to prospective buyers. Locks and linens are not the property, and the seller will or will not convey with the property upon sale. That would be for like a rental condo or a rental home or something. Title property is deeded property or Fairhope single tax. People always know which one they are, and there's also a map that you can find that with. And if there is or is not a property owners association. Lots of times I let some of this slide till after closing. This one I do not.
I don't want to interrupt you, but do you
Please
know if Melissa got a hold of Fairhope? We were supposed to have a discussion about having them come in and discuss Fairhope single tax with us.
I don't know if she did or not, but I know.
I wonder if I could just call the city and take a class there.
Because they were down for COVID for a long time.
Yeah, they were.
I don't know that they'll do that. They might let you come and sit in, but generally the class that they have is
For your buyers.
for the buyers to come in and sit down and they tell them what the food is.
Was it Dorothy? She did an online class once about Fairhope single tax and gave us a history and everything.
I would love more information about it, just
Yeah.
so I know what I'm talking about, especially, you know, I do a lot of open houses in Fairhope, and I just want to know what I'm talking about when buyers come through.
You can go online too and read about it.
Okay.
It gives you a lot of
It's not-
information
you know,
and
it's
its
not-
history and
And you know
why
it's
it's
not
there.
all of Fairhope.
No,
Right.
I know where I live, Sprouts.
Yeah, where I live is.
Yeah, it's different. The title company is going to be asking you when you get time for closing. I need to get a hold of the property owners association. I can't get a hold of anybody. I don't know who they are. I need a phone number. I need all this. So that's why I try to get it from them up front.
Yeah, I had difficulty with this.
Yeah.
With my last buyer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like they don't know. They haven't paid. I had one in Lake Forest years ago that told me that she was in a area of Lake Forest. She did not have to pay dues. And I'm like,
Be careful with that because there's some homeowners society, some homeowners associations that if you do not pay the fees, they will put a lien on your house.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So the waiting house is going to be paid at
Gotta
closing.
have it.
Well, it turns out at closing, she owed Fairhope, and this was years ago. She owed Lake Forest Home Association like $4,000. And I said, you owe them like $41.50 or something. And back homeowner associations. But you told me you want to area that
better go that.
here. I thought they just put a lien on the house and it just keeps it closing. I said, I thought you said you were in an area because of pay. She said, yeah, because I lived in the house and I wasn't paying.
Oh, wow.
But I'll say no. I said we have to sell the house. How crazy is that? Earnest money.
Because then now she's got interest fees on it.
Earnest money. Seller authorizes broker to accept and hold earnest money deposits to be used in negotiating the sale and to procure any instruments necessary for the seller to convey title as per the purchase agreement. In the event of forfeiture of earnest money deposits by prospective buyers of said property during the existence of this agreement or any extensions thereof, such deposits shall be equally divided between the broker and the seller, with the broker's share not to exceed the commission as stated in paragraph 3A above. Broker shall furnish seller with an itemized statement of all the expenses incurred by the broker on the seller's behalf in connection with the consummation of the transaction. Said expenses to be paid for by seller from seller's appropriate share of the forfeited earnest money deposit. I have not in 26.5 years ever used this. The deal falls apart and the money goes to the seller. I give the money to the seller and likewise to the buyer. In the event both seller and buyer cannot agree on the disposition of the earnest money deposit, the broker holding the earnest money deposit shall be authorized to be interpleaded the disputed portion of the earnest money deposit into the court of competent jurisdiction and shall be entitled to be compensated by the party who does not prevail in the interpleader action the cost of the expenses, including reasonable attorney fees incurred in filing said interpleader. So that's no, it's mine. Nope, it's mine. It's neither. We're going to interplead into the court system and y'all can battle with that.
Yeah.
Disclosure. Seller hereby specifically authorizes broker and any of the cooperating brokers to disclose to the prospective buyers, to the extent required by the law, any defects, latent or otherwise, affecting general health and safety known to them by the seller's property disclosure statement, if applicable. Seller acknowledges that broker and its licensee do not have the responsibility to discover latent defects in the property or to render advice on matters outside the scope of their license. So I don't know how well the air conditioner works, but everybody has an inspection. I don't care who you are, have an inspection. Attorney fees, cost of litigation. If suit is brought to collect the compensation provided herein, or if broker defends any action brought against broker by the seller relating to the agreement or under the sales agreement relating to the property, the broker prevails, seller agrees to pay all costs incurred by the broker in connection with such action, including reasonable attorney fees and court costs. I'm going to make sure y'all never get to that point. No broker liability. Seller agrees the broker shall not be responsible in any manner of loss, damage, personal or real property due to vandalism, theft, freezing, water pipes, or other damages or loss whatsoever, including but not limited to personal injuries sustained on the property. Seller agrees to pay all costs incurred by a broker in connection with any claim, suit, or cause of action brought against broker related to such loss or damage, including attorney fees and costs. Tell your sellers to put their valuables away.
Right.
I know that you are proud that you have all that expensive jewelry for some reason, and you want everybody who comes in the house to see it. But there's going to be people who come in that love it more than you, and they're going to take it. Hide your valuables.
Medicine cabinets. Too.
Oh, absolutely.
Hide your drugs.
Yeah, no doubt. If you got them, hide them. Seller representation and warranty. Seller specifically represents and warrants that seller has complete authority to sell the property and convey title. You're not trying to sell it from underneath your parents. Seller has personally reviewed the agreement, the MLS seller property input forms, and all other attached exhibits. Seller has personally filled out a seller disclosure statement if required by the broker. Lots of places don't require a disclosure statement. Lots of people do not. The agents don't do them, companies don't do them. The only important thing that you have to remember is never, ever fill out the disclosure statement for a seller.
Right.
I worked at a company where they did that, sold the house. She was on both sides of it, sold the house to someone who was incompetent, which you can't do. And I mean, the amount of money she had to pay, and we lost her license.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a mess.
Now, okay,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give your voice a break. The disclosure, isn't that the one that they may or may not want to fill out?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
I need more
I
copy.
tried to get them to fill it out,
Yeah.
only because there's so much information that the selling agent might ask you. Who's their general contract with? You know, because the buyer pays for them now, it used to be for the seller paid for them. The buyer would like to use the same company. The energy, you know who that is, well, God, it's on the seller's disclosure form. How old is that roof?
Those are a lot
Flooding
of
issues.
questions I get at open house too, and I like it in the MLS right in front of me,
Mhm.
so I can answer those questions. That's why I always print that out. And if I don't have it in front of me on the MLS, I'll call the listing agent to ask anything I don't see on there that I
Absolutely.
think they're
I
gonna.
would tell those things, I'm gonna hold your house open for you. I need you to give me a copy of the seller's disclosure.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna give it to anybody, but I want to be able to answer questions from.
Yeah, because I don't like to say, I really try not to ever say, give it my best shot. I don't know, but I'll find that out for
Oh, I
you.
hate
I hate having to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if I had, was doing open house and I had a list of, just wrote them on, I would personally, I would get a copy of the seller's disclosure, and I would just get a separate piece of paper and say title company, I'm sorry, termite company is this, agent of the home is this, and that kind of
That's
stuff.
good. Thank
And then
you.
if
I
they
needed
asked
that.
me, my answer was always forward to the seller. Or throw the
Yes,
seller.
not you.
are you doing, Lynn's Silverwood this Sunday?
Me?
No?
No, she got someone else before I
Okay.
got to it. But she said next weekend. I
It's
could.
over. She'll tell you that. It's Silverwood Lane.
Yeah, it is. And
There's-
no, it's over price.
It needs,
It does.
but,
That's what I told her.
Didn't we go there on Caravan?
We did.
oh, did we? Okay.
In the foreign lane.
You see, I missed it. I was meeting with Jennifer in Orange Beach. I missed our caravan this week.
Okay, I love Caravan. I love team
I
meeting
had
too.
the best
I do
time
too.
on Caravan. I
When-
will say.
It's old school because we
It
did
is
it when I
old
sold in Calhoun County
Yeah.
years ago. We
Yeah.
did that. I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's coming back.
Yeah. I remember we used to do team meeting and it started at 8 in the morning. Team meeting at 8.
You ain't getting half these agents in here at 8.
We can't get them at 11. So there you have it. But we started at 8. You had to come. And I mean, you were chastised if you didn't. And if you showed up late, they made it a point to let you know you were late.
Oh, wow.
You know, you were almost late last week, and I figured it's usually me. I definitely have a time issue. I'm time challenged.
Challenge, that's what I was going to
I
say.
always think I have an extra couple minutes.
Yeah.
I have a disability, it's called.
Well, to answer that phone call, when I really want to say, I'm on my way to an appointment or I'm on my way to teach a class, I'll have to take care of you in just a minute. If you don't mind, let me finish my class, can I call you back in an hour? I usually think to myself, this agent needs this issue taken care of right now. And I say, okay, give me a minute. And I get into my computer and I start, I answer the question, I'm looking at the clock, and that's when I tell them that it's too late.
Yeah, I had an agent, I should know her name too. One of our newer agents messaging me yesterday about Silverwood. She wanted my flyer, and I told her, I said, I did it in command. It only took me about less than an hour.
Yeah.
Where do I find it? Well, if you try to pull command up on this,
Right.
it does not look the same
No.
as it does on my
Right.
laptop. And I was having my stress test and all that other stuff done
Yeah.
yesterday. I'm like, I can't even get on my laptop right now. I'm
Yeah.
at Thomas and there's no,
Yeah.
I don't have their internet or anything. I felt so bad, but then she finally messaged me back and said she figured out how to do one. It's not like mine, but she wants to figure out how to do mine eventually.
Yeah.
So. But if you're doing an open house and you want me to advertise it for you, I'll definitely share it. Just holler at me
And
Remind me.
same, yeah.
and you know you do have to have permission
Mm-hmm.
to share
Mm-hmm.
and other listings. You have to have that.
Yes.
John got me
Mm-hmm.
totally straight. I was actually sharing a listing for Remax because it was my brother-in-law's house, but I called their agent
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, oh, hey, sweetheart. I was like, do you mind if I share your posts since it's Brandon's house? No, share them all. I was like, no.
No,
I'm just gonna
I'm just
share
gonna share
Brandon's
this
house.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a sticky situation. My brother-in-law, sister-in-law, this beautiful home. They only had it 2 years, and he decided they wanted to downsize. Two of their kids graduated, and they're going off to college. So they don't have 4 kids anymore. They don't need.
Sure.
And my sister-in-law wanted a new construction in Oldfield. They love Angela Galapagos.
Golfers.
There you go, Galapagos. They love her. She sold them the house. I didn't have my license renewed when they bought it, so she brings them points at us. Another thing, keep up with your people once you sell them, because they love her, because she invites them to the Fairhill parades. They have wine, beer, they're downtown on the bay. So they kept in touch with her the last 2 years. He called me. He said, I do not want to hurt your feelings. I don't want you to know what I own on my house. I don't want you to know any of my personal business. Are you going to list with her? I was like, do what you want to do.
Absolutely.
That's fine.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and he had my feelings were hurt. I didn't cause any family drama. Yeah. Anyway, my sister-in-law is like, I can't sell my house. Their house is on the market 9 months in Daphne.
Wow.
9 months. You don't see that
In Daphne?
No, you don't see it in Daphne. I said, Jess, I told you it was overpriced. I'm sure she did too. She did, but we just bought it 2 years ago. Anyway, I had to call Angela and ask her if I could share her listing. So just if you're going to be sharing other listings, you just have to get permission.
Yeah, I generally don't share with them.
No, I won't share another company in
Yeah,
that
but it's
situation.
your brother and sister-in-law, absolutely.
Yeah, I do. I've done so many open houses for everyone, and that when I first started, that's how I was like, do you mind? But it was a wonderful thing with Keller Williams is 9 times out of 10, and I will say it that way, they'll be, oh gosh, yes, please do.
Yeah, most of our
With our
agents.
So sharing them on
are
Facebook,
amazing.
you're supposed to get permission?
Yes.
Even our own
That
agents?
in per John, yes.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I've never asked for permission,
Um,
never. And
And I'll
I share every single listing that
I
somebody
had
posts
one
on
guy-
well,
Facebook.
maybe you won't have to
I
though,
will
because you're
not.
our broker.
I will
Well-
not share a listing if it doesn't contain the agent's name somewhere in there. If I share the listing
always.
and it showed, and I'm like, oh, if I share this, it's gonna look like it's mine.
I co-host is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm a co-host to them.
Yeah.
Is what I do.
Yeah, John. and
I had
a
one that said
discussion
no.
about it
I've had
one
one
day.
that said no.
Really?
I have. That's why I say 9 times out of 10.
That's,
I don't want to say.
You don't have to say, you don't have to sit down, But that just seems weird because it's gonna give them so much more exposure.
I'm a new agent.
I have
I mean, I
had-
start off with that. Like,
I have had wonderful, even from the big
Other
ones like
than
Heather.
him, I've had
I love
wonderful-
doing her open houses.
Mhm.
Terry, I'll do hers all day
I have
long.
Heather, I keep getting notices on Facebook. Oh,
Kristen
Heather's
and
number one
Shane
fan. Do I want to get my badge? I'm like, I don't need a badge.
My husband's mine.
Kristen Ford and Shane Ford are always open to you coming and doing an open house for them, open a show
Right.
for them.
Yeah, I have not had an experience with any of our agents.
They're awesome.
They are. Where were we?
I'm sorry. I
Oh, no,
totally-
don't
Just
worry
at the
about it.
end. We're just at the end.
Seller agrees to defend, indemnify, and full terms of broker and sales associate. Wait a minute.
We're at 22.
Oh, okay. Sales associate of any and all other cooperating brokers against and from any losses, damages, claims, suits of law, including court costs and attorney fees, or other costs for expenses relating to or resulting from any actual or alleged inaccuracies or incompleteness of the property information contained herein, and any other information or representation, oral or written, provided by seller to broker at the date of listing agreement, as well as subsequent information provided by the seller. So if you lie to me and you get caught, then you're going to pay for it. I'm not.
Right.
Entire agreement. This agreement includes the attached exhibits and forms. It's intended is intended to be the legal binding agreement of all parties. I'm sorry, I got new glasses with bifocals in them, and he tells me
Oh, that makes you.
he's telling me that my eyes are better. Well, I've always had bifocals for like the last 10 years, but He said my eyes are getting better, which I think he's right. So I can watch TV without my glasses on for like the first time in 15 years. But seeing from a distance, I can't find, it's
Which
like nowhere
spot
in
is
there
it?
is the right
Yeah.
spot for it. And if I take my glasses off, I can read it better. Oh my God. Okay, let's see, entire agreement. This agreement, including attached exhibits and form, is intended to be a legal binding agreement of all parties, seller and buyer's broker. Acknowledge that except for the attachments as referenced in this listing agreement, there are no other agreements, promises, conditions, fitting in writing, it didn't happen, or understandings either expressed or implied between them other than specifically set forth herein. Seller warrants that there are no prior agreements on this property.
She's not giving me some money under the table.
Yep, listings, sale or otherwise, that have not been properly terminated. In other words, you don't have it listed with somebody else before this date that we start, or it's going to be over before we start. The agreement may not be modified or amended except for in writing, which must be signed by both the seller and broker. Fair housing. Federal law prohibits discrimination in sale or lease of real property on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, handicap, or familiar status. For the second time in the contract. Seller authorizes the broker and their sales associates to contact in or send the seller advertisement, marketing materials, or information by U.S. mail, email, phone, fax, internet, social media, or CMS message. We got something, we can show them what we're doing. This would be additional provisions. Those master bedroom drapes don't convey, or the hardware doesn't convey, or anything along those lines. If the chandelier is going to be replaced, that goes in other provisions. And then whatever they put in here, make sure you put a note, agent notes in the MLS.
Okay.
You can say, okay, I had it on here and I forgot to put it in the MLS. They didn't know that chandelier didn't. I usually do that, and then the information that I leave at the listing will also say that. Okay. Seller's mailing address, which sometimes may be different than the listing address. And their work number, and of course their signature. Then you have a place for 1, 2, 3, 4 sellers, and then your listing agent and the date and initial the document. And you've got that with your seller's net and your recad and your, what else do we need? Seller's net, recad, estimated closing costs, lead paint, maybe a limited consensual dual agent, your Baldwin County MLS put form, and you're done.
I have a question about the. I have a question. Talk to me about a little more about. I know I've listened to it. I remember,
Sure.
But talk to me about the termite protection bond on. When I have a home that says that sells as is, talk to me about it.
Sure. Well, if you have a home that says as is, you still have to have the Alabama requires that you have a termite inspection. Okay. At least a termite inspection. It's now a buyer's cost. All of the contracts that I've got, cost that it used to not be. All of the contracts that I've gotten have said seller to pay for termite inspection and transfer of, or WIR, excuse me, which is the letter that the title company and that mortgage company are going to require. It's just the termite inspection letter. They'll say for the seller to pay for that and to transfer the bond, if there is one. You can include full motion. Good for 1 year.
Okay.
If there's not a bond currently in place, a contract currently in place for them to provide one, it pays them stay. Excuse me, which my sellers have been doing, believe it or not. So I guess it's because they're used to it, but you still have to have a termite inspection.
Right. I was just confused with it because I've seen it go back and forth and back and forth.